Okay, everybody, so for the 4, which is congruent triangles, we'll start off with congruent figures. All right, so we'll talk about that instead, and we'll kind of get into it, kind of plays into it. All right. Yeah, let's kind of look at it. So for congruent figures, we have two different theorems we're looking at. We're looking at congruent polygons, so just kind of all the shapes in general. A polygon is every single shape. Whereas, and then also the third angle theorem is specifically more so for triangles. All right. So let's talk about actual shapes instead. Okay. So a polygon. All this stuff is congruent. So remember, congruent means the same size, same shape. All right. Um, Polygons that have congruent corresponding sides and angles. Congruent corresponding sides and angles. Okay. The key word here is corresponding. And remember, that means like same spot, right? Um, Position, the same spot, slash position. Okay. So yeah, corresponding means the same spot slash position. So really, everything that's congruent, right? If all these other pieces are congruent too, right? This has to do with the same size, same shape, same size slash shape. So then when we're looking at this stuff, everything has to be corresponding, but also has to be congruent. So let's take a look at this. All right, so let's take a look at this side, right? So the bottom side, pretty easy. It has to be in the same position, it has to be congruent. So if we mark this one down here on the bottom with one tick mark, we mark this one as well. We can do that for all of them. Some use a lot of different colors to kind of highlight this idea. If we do the top, right? The top would be congruent to the top. And then this is where it gets a little bit tricky because of the way that the, right? Since this one's facing towards the left, right? This little side, and this little side's to the right, it means corresponding. So not only are we looking at like this side being corresponding not to the left side, but to the one that's actually in the same position as, right? So be careful with that. All right, make sure you don't make that mistake of where you're supposed to be actually marking these things, right? What actually is corresponding, and that's why we have this whole same spot, same position. It kind of applies to that. So in this case, even though this one is on, it's congruent and corresponding to that one right there. Right. So those are different, sides are the same, so those are the sides, but also we have to look at the angles as well. So yeah, real quick, say we have this top angle. It's congruent and corresponding to this one right here. So it has to be both congruent and corresponding is what we're looking at, right? And so if we have, I don't know, this bottom right angle, it'd be corresponding and congruent to this bottom left angle. If we have this angle, it'd be congruent and corresponding to this one. And then lastly, right, we also have like, I don't know, this one congruent and corresponding to that one, right? So not only is it just the angles are the same, but also the sides as well, right? That's what has both of them. That's what makes congruent polygons. Same size, same shape, but they're different ones. Okay. So just stuff to look out for. There's a lot of different things we can mark. All right, for the third angle theorem. This one is a little bit, it's more so obvious just because like we talked about triangles, right? How triangles work, what do we do with them, and all that. So if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then obviously those third angles are congruent, right? I mean, so think of it this way, right? So let's name these triangles. I don't know, X, Y, Z, T, R, S. X, Y, Z, T, R, S, right? If we have these named. So obviously, because it's a triangle, angle X plus angle y plus angle z has to equal 180 degrees, right? It's a triangle, so that has to be true. Same thing down here, right? Angle T plus angle R plus angle S also has to equal 180 degrees. They're triangles. But if we say that, let's say, angle X and angle T are congruent, right? We can also Y and R are congruent. So if we know that these two are congruent, right, no matter what they are, then these last ones also have to be congruent as well, right? So Z has to be congruent to S. Because if these two are congruent to one angle, right, X and T are congruent, if Y and R are congruent, that means that these last ones have to be congruent as well, right? If two of these angles are congruent, that means the rest of them are congruent as well. It doesn't say anything about the sides, right? So don't get confused with the sides, but at least for sure the angles are congruent because they have to add up to 180. Two are the same, and these two are the same. Then lastly, the last pair also has to be the same as well, right? Pretty straightforward, kind of what it is. But yeah, that's it. All right. Well, that's what it is for these notes.